one thing that we noticed was some people would sign up and then not do anything, not even upload a file. And so in that investigation, it was like, just give me a file. And then by providing those templates, we do provide a file like that.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Behind the Experience, where we give you an inside look behind the top product-led experiences. Each week we'll share really great UX examples, proven strategies, and hard-earned lessons from experts who are actually creating experiences that we love. This is your co-host, Ramley John, and today we have Ruben here. He is the founder of SignWell. It's a platform that makes it easy for you to sign documents electronically with others. Ruben, how's it going today with you?
Great. Doing good today. How you doing?
Pretty good. I'm super excited to chat. I know we've connected before on Twitter. We were just both on Corey Haynes' SaaS marketing summit. So it's good to finally chat online.
Yeah. Good to meet you like this.
Well, I want to jump right in and just try to understand what success is for new users at SignWell, and I'm based on our conversation before I hit record here. I'm giving a little bit of teaser, but there's different segments that you serve, and I'm curious what is success for new user that is signing up for SignWell.
Yeah, that very much depends on the segment. So we have people who are just looking to sign their own documents, and somebody asks them to sign a document. They're probably the most simplest for us to define. Basically, a document that's been completed. People who are looking to get signatures from others is different, because they have to. It's very similar, but they have to actually also add the other people and then send it over, and the other people have to review and sign. We may send reminders. So in both of those cases, we say completed documents that are completed. But there's also usually often a testing, part of it. So we have to, we like to look at least 2 documents that have been completed. And then we also have a segment of teams, and that just brings up the amount of effort and what we have to look at. Basically, they have to onboard their team, get them a certain amount of training, and then make sure that they're also able to complete documents. And the last thing, the newest thing for us, is our API product to electronically sign, and a lot of times embed our product into other products, into the workflow of other products. So in that point, for that product, it's basically making sure that they've successfully integrated the product and are in a production environment getting documents signed.
It makes a ton of sense. I think one of the things you mentioned is somebody signing their own documents is easy because I'm signing it, but sometimes it takes a while for the other person to sign it. So that's exactly one of the challenges with getting other people to sign it. It's like it's not completed until that person sees it and then signs it. Is that a challenge that you're finding, particularly for those kind of segment of users who need a signature from another person?
Yeah, because they can go into the product, they could set up the field, set up the document, do all the things that they have to do, and basically be done with their job at that point. But they've not received value from the product here. They're not getting the result that they want. The result that they want is a document signed. So they can send it out, and we could say, oh yeah, onboarding complete. They uploaded the document. They did all, send out the field. They added the signers, sent it out. Done. They're onboarded. But then, maybe our experience on the recipient side made it so that didn't happen, or we make sure that everything's smooth, that the recipients get the document, they understand what they're looking at, they can open it in any device, they sign it, so nice and fast. We remind them automatically. So take care of all that. There's a lot on the other side of that we have to make sure. And then at that point, yes, documents completed. They got the result that they were looking for. They got the value from the product.
I love how you walked you through that. And one of the things you mentioned is around making sure that the reminders are automated, just because they need some people need a little nudge, myself included, where
Yeah,
my mailbox has 500 emails that hasn't been opened. I know that probably makes a makes a few people
but you don't want
give
to
them
look at
some.
mine. Mine is in the like I think 100,000.
Oh
Uh,
dang, that's a
yeah,
lot. Shoot,
yeah.
that's good.
Um,
That's good to hear.
no, that's right. There's a lot there on the other end, and like with reminders, nobody likes to send reminders, right? Like,
Mm, right.
not just like if you have multiple documents, keeping on top of like, okay, who do I send a reminder at what day? How long do I give them? Do I want to bug them? Do I want to, like, how much time? If it's just automated, you don't have to worry about it. It just happens.
Makes sense. And something else you said earlier that's super interesting is before they send it to somebody else or actually sign an actual document, they test it out for themselves. And we're going to see in a bit how you've provided some sample documents. I know I'm teasing people about that already, but before we get into some of the experiences at SignWell, what are some metrics that you take a look at to see that success? I know you mentioned around 2 documents completed. Are there other ones that you take a look at? Like whether that's completing something, completing uploading a document, or what are the metrics you take a look at or
Yeah,
products?
the key steps in between all that, right? We want to make sure that those are being performed. But at the end of the day, really, it is about completed documents. It's a
Mm,
little bit different how that's measured for each of those segments because the experience is different and what we call completed is different for each segment. So that is separate and that is looked at in a different way. But at the end of the day, it's basically that.
interesting. That makes sense. You mentioned there the what you call completed is different for each segment. So I guess for the teams, completed is when they've onboarded the other team members and they've used it for the first time, and then the API would be so completely different as well, making sure that there's a first API call or some kind of document that went through.
Yeah, so it's more like active, like truly activated, right? So there may be completed documents in an integration, but
Mm,
if it's not production yet, then that's testing. And then once we know that, okay, these are real documents that are being completed, now they've fully activated, they're getting value out of the product. So that sort of has to be its own like activation metric. And same thing for getting documents signed. For it's a little bit different. Like, we don't have a thing called completed for when you're just signing your own documents. You're just filling
interesting.
out stuff. You're just signing, right? Um, but we have to think through, when is it complete? When are you done? And when you're done is when you send that document to yourself, or when you download, when you say, okay, let me download this document. So at that point, behind the scenes, we we mark it as they completed. They're done with the thing that they were doing.
That makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. I want to take a look at now one of the screens here. And we were talking a little bit about this already earlier. Around when somebody signs up for the first time, there's this very clean looking empty state that has like this button here that asks you, upload your first document. For a lot of people, this is a struggle. So, for people who are tuning in via audio, there's like this button at the very bottom that says download and customize one from here. And when I clicked on that, there was like several documents that people can select, and one of the top ones was marketing agreement, which me being in marketing, I was like, yeah, I'll click that one. Can you talk a little bit about this process? Because I find this is actually a genius step. Because for a lot of new users, the first thing that they would think, especially during testing, is like, I need to find a document to make
Yeah,
sure that
yep,
this actually
yep,
works. And
that's
you
right.
made it absolutely easy for folks here. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about the evolution or of
Sure.
this
So,
section?
I would say most people have a document.
Mm,
So most people don't need that, but then there's a good chunk, let's say 20% or
interesting.
maybe a little bit higher, 30%, that don't have a document. Those are important people to show the value to at that point. Maybe they don't have the document because they're expecting it later, or they're still working on it, things like that. But they um, still want to see how it works. In that case, they can use one of these, or sometimes they don't have the document because they need to find one. In that case, we have those templates. So just in the process of interviewing, people during the onboarding process, we found like, okay, there's a genuine need for agreements to basically not have them go off of our product and go looking for something if we already provide it there and make it easy. And then one thing that we noticed was some people would sign up and then not do anything, not even upload a file. And so in that investigation, it was like, just give me a file. And then and by providing those templates, we do provide a file like that. One of the things that we tested, which turned out really badly, but it was an interesting thing to try, was and this speaks to the differences between SignWell, which is electronic signatures, and BidSketch, which is proposal product. Both of the I'm founder for both of the products, and this would probably work pretty well with BidSketch, but it really did not work with SignWell. So the thing was, they need a file. Let's provide a sample file. So we did. And at first, it was just it just said sample agreement, and that was it.
Right.
And it was clearly like not a real agreement, not meant to be customized or anything. So people used it, and that was okay. Then we said, hey, you know what would be cool? What if we made this fun? What if we made these like themed sort of agreements, like an NDA to onboard a UFO, and like a release form or some sort of document to get everything that's owed to you from that Steve Jobs left to you as inheritance or something like that, right? So we hired like comedic writers and things like that to come up with these. It was just 3, just for fun, like something different, right? To stand out and just make it better than just a sample agreement. So we thought it was really clever and fun, and people would get a kick out of it. And it was super interesting what happened. They uploaded those, and they were really confused, some people, and some other people were super distracted by them. And in fact, because we're in the electronic signature space, legal, compliance, security, it sort of made it seem like less serious, less of a too jokey, and it really did not work. It actually dropped conversions. Yeah. So we changed that. We tried a few things, and what we have now has worked best with ready-made agreements that they can actually use.
That's really fascinating. I would not have guessed that. I thought it would be like more fun, more brand building, compared to like the other alternatives that are probably more by the books. So it was super interesting. And then so you came up with all these agreements. Did you come up with one first? Then it's like, might as well create 20 or so for this.
Yeah, we actually have, like, if you go to our website and you go to the /contracts, there's a whole directory of agreements. So those were there, and those were
already there.
meant for like anybody who's looking for an agreement. They can download an agreement and then have the next step after that would be our product. So there would be a good person to market to. So also we had an interesting issue there with onboarding those users, which are very different than other users, but we didn't really realize it. So ideally, when you do a template strategy like this, which we've done before and it works great, you give them the template that they want and you put them in your product. That's the next natural progression. Instead of giving them a file and then them having to go to the computer and then they're gone, they're lost, right? They're not thinking about your product. So, and it worked great. We saw, initially, let's say, I don't know, like 15,000 new signups a month from it.
Wow.
Which is a nice number. Then we noticed that, yes, they went to the product. We automatically uploaded the file for them, and they went to the next steps. And then they got to the place where they're supposed to overlay fields to send it out and get their agreement signed. And then everybody did stuff in there, looked like setting up fields or whatever, and nobody sent it. Like no, like
Interesting.
very, 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 very few people sent it. What's going on? After a lot of research and looking into it, it turned out that people were clicking around trying to figure out, how do you edit this thing, right? Because our tools for letting you electronically sign documents that you have, existing documents, but these are fresh new templates. These are things that have not been
All right.
customized yet.
Yeah.
It's not an editing tool, so they were literally clicking, trying to edit stuff that
Right.
couldn't be edited. So we had to change the entire flow. It just didn't, for everyone else that already has existing documents or documents in mind or knows how this works, it works great. These types of visitors,
Right.
needed a different workflow, and it's just way different. So we just changed to, here's your file, but look, your next step, we show them after you download your file, is you come back here, you make your modifications, and then you upload it and you get your document signed.
Right.
And
That
that
makes sense.
doubled like our paid conversions and all that
Interesting.
stuff.
Interesting.
Changing it over to that. But then we just simply took those, like based off of the other research that we did, and we said, oh, we already have these agreements and all that stuff. Let's add those in there to help the other people that need one, or don't have a file yet.
It's really fascinating that I think the heart of the action that you performed was it was good foundation. Being, let's try to remove friction. They have to
Yes,
go to
exactly.
they have to
Right.
go to the folder, get the document, look for it. They might get
Right.
lost. They might have saved it in the wrong folder, but it actually created more confusion by removing friction. So it's interesting that this insight is sometimes adding a little bit of, like, something that they already, a pattern they already know, get the file and then upload it in would make sense. And it's something they actually would normally do in the future, where like they have to upload their own files. So
Right.
they're going through that motion already with that.
Yeah,
It's
and
really
most of the things that we found work for us has been around removing friction. This was one case where it was like, no,
interesting.
let's slow things down, educate them a little bit, like let
I
them
love
do what
that.
they need to, and then we continue.
That's a really interesting insight. Thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of people are, always remove friction, but sometimes it does work here. One of the other things that I found really interesting is, as soon as people sign in for, finally upload their documents, they can add, who's gonna sign it, and they're finally inside. And there's this, for people who are tuning in via audio through the podcast. On the screen, there's some sketch outline. There's an overlay that darkens the background, and there's a line that's sketched out and it says drag and drop these elements or click on these documents to add them. There's one primary button says get started, and then there's a secondary call to action called watch a help video. I thought this was cool because like it feels like you were sketching it out on the screen. I've seen this a few times. How did this come about? Is it something that through once again through talking to customers, experiments, or anything else?
Yeah, so we measure every step in our onboarding process, and there's more drop off than we wanted at this step, where it was like, okay, you've uploaded your file, now it's time to tell your signers where to sign, and tell the people that need to complete stuff where to complete it and what to complete. Um, for half of the people, I'd say half of the people onboarding, they're very familiar with how these tools work, and they just get it. And then the other half is not. They imagine you've never used anything like this. So just the whole concept of like, oh, you add fields to a thing on top, and I can't edit, like, they've never heard of it. They don't know what it's like. So about half of the people don't know that. And that's where we discovered a lot of the drop off was coming. Just adding a little instructional, like, hey, drag these onto here, and then that's how you're setting it up. Plus the little video help there for people who need a little bit more information. They could click on that, and it's a very short video that just shows why they why that's an important step. We try to make it clear in the design, and not have things that just, I know like Samuel Hewlett likes to mention, like just pointing out UI things. In this case, it's just a new sort of interaction that once they really like, and it makes sense and it makes things really easy. It's just like getting those newer people just past that one point.
Yeah, I was mentioning that it's a very gentle nudge. It's not like a,
Mm.
15 step product tour that,
Right.
that,
It's one thing, right,
right.
that just comes up, and for the people that get it, they just click, "Yep, I get it, done," and then right, it's not like next, and none of that
Mm,
stuff.
I like it. Yeah, you're trusting that people will get it once they have it. You're not like clicking around here. So I really love that. I want to ask about this help video. I'm seeing a lot more folks use videos. Some people are like, videos are hard to watch and things like that. But I've found it certain cases, especially where people need a little bit of guidance, or where it's a step by step process. Videos are helpful. Is that what you're finding here, where you prefer using a video rather than a 15 step tour or anything else like GIFs or anything like that?
Yeah, it tends to work really well. Like on the upload file one, we actually link to
Mm,
a help article, which is like different. It's a combination of both, but yeah, really short ones that just kind of go through what they're supposed to do and show how they get the value from that. Tend to work well. I totally stole this from Rob Walling when back in
nice
the drip
drip.
days.
The
Yeah,
drip days,
so
yeah.
like I remember seeing that he did that for to improve his onboarding, and I was like, oh, I really like
Mm,
that.
interesting.
Um, Jesse from Bento has some really nice videos, like as part of onboarding, that they're totally worth checking out as well.
Cool. That makes a ton of sense. The other thing that I recently chatted with the folks at Thinkific, and one of the things that's cool about video is, especially if there's audio, is that it's easy to translate to different languages, the captions.
Mm. Yep.
So I think that's the other benefit. Like, it's much easier to translate captions than it is to translate a whole page to a different language. So I think
Right.
there's
Yeah,
a
that makes
resurgence of
sense.
it.
That's cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about this different experiences. I'm gonna start wrapping up. One of the questions I love asking is around what are you excited to try next in terms of, whether improving this onboarding experience, or even like what's coming up next for SignWell in terms of like what's coming up for the product.
Yeah, we're just getting out to we've had our e-signature API now for a long time with a lot of big customers and scaling it and all that stuff. It's in a really good point, but we've been in early access. So now we're getting it to where it's self-signed
Mm,
part of the way, but then this is a very different thing to where it involves developers, and it can take more time.
right.
So we're very like, that's one of the things that has me excited about figuring, like, we haven't completely figured out the onboarding for that. We've had a lot of conversations, and it's okay, it's pretty good, but it's early. We're just coming out to market with this product. So as far as the e-signature API, and it's like, how do we do this in a way that is smooth and very helpful for people, and maybe a little bit better than what they've been used to in the past. So API products, onboarding for API products for me is a pretty interesting topic.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I can imagine like you're onboarding probably different kind of people, different kind of, yeah, they're probably developers you're onboarding versus the solo or team might be a founder or business owner or somebody who is in marketing or legal. So it is an interesting and might have to be a different
Yeah,
approach.
it's actually both, right? Because like
Mm,
a lot of times the account owner and the creator will be a non-technical, non-develop
interesting.
developer. So it's like, okay, they start the process. Maybe they might have to talk to us if they have some specific questions or not, and then they invite their dev team, and that whole process there.
Makes a ton of sense. And one final question: where can people find out more about SignWell online, as well as more about you? Do you want them to follow you on Twitter, find you on LinkedIn, if people have any other follow-up questions to you?
Sure. So SignWell, signwell.com, and for myself on Twitter, EarthlingWorks.
Okay, works. Nice. Awesome. Well, Ruben, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.